I never make videos like this because I don't really like to talk about my feelings too much on camera, because feelings are just such like a strange dynamic thing that sometimes I'll film a video, post it, and then I'll go back and watch it and I'm like, that is not how I feel at all anymore, and how embarrassing that's out there forever. Sometimes writing my feelings down and sharing those writings feels much more safe. I think because whenever I write my feelings down, I'm like, a reader's going to read this, and they're going to approach me with the respect their reader approaches a writer. Whereas I think when it comes to making videos and sharing those online, I'm like, anyone could watch it, and they might approach me with no respect at all. Also, I think I've always had trouble translating my feelings, my true, honest feelings, into a video format. Some of my favorite YouTubers of all time are the ones who'll just sit down and chat it out. I will listen to Emma Chamberlain talk about her feelings on the dumbest things. But when it comes to myself, I just think it seems insincere. My best friend's texting me. This comes out of a conversation I was just having with my best friend, and I felt like I just needed to sit down and rant it out. Who knows if I'll actually edit and post this video. I don't know. I got this message from my professor last night. Okay, this story actually starts 2 weeks ago. Well, okay, I graduate university, and for 8 months, I do nothing much more than reading, spending time with my friends, writing, traveling. Sounds like a dream. It was much more complicated in reality. And then I started university again in September, and I think that in September, materially, my situation looked the exact same as it had 8 months prior. So I approached it in the same way, and I think that was a mistake. Being in the same place, but different. So taking the same courses, doing all the same things. But now being in grad school, knowing that I want to be a writer. This time around, when I was in my undergrad, I had no conception of what I wanted to do beyond university. My whole focus was on university, and I studied political theory, and I would just narrow my vision down, and I would read political theory in my free time, and I'd talk about political theory in my free time, and I'd meet with my professors, and I'd spend hours and hours on my papers. My whole life was just this tiny little university, right? All I did was sit and think and be the best, most critical version of myself, and it worked. Like, without bragging or, pumping myself up, I know that I was an absolute beast when it came to university. I was pulling really high marks, running events, and keeping up a strong social life, and I had people in my ear telling me, professors, colleagues telling me, Camille, you're very smart. I don't feel smart. I don't feel smart most of the time. So then it feels like I met this girl last year, 2 years ago, and she was great, and everyone really liked her. But then I graduated, and she was gone. And I miss her, but it's also not me. It's just one version of me. I think university has this way of... Sorry, I was just weighing the consequences of crying on camera. Somebody's gonna look up this video and make fun of me. That's okay. I think university has this way of safeguarding you from the world. This is the ivory tower. I wrote a Substack article about some of my experiences in university. I don't remember what I said in the article. I don't want to call it a Substack article. It was just like a rant. It was a rant. When I graduated, I wrote this rant about my graduation day, and I talked about this ivory tower and the way that it makes you think and feel, and the competitiveness and the toxicity of it, but also the protectiveness of it. I love academia. I don't want to be an academic. I have what it takes to get a PhD, if it takes something other than money and time. I don't want to say that. I think PhDs are important. I think university is important. But it can also protect you from yourself by creating another, one whose whole job is just to sit and think. And I'm really good at sitting and thinking. I think in some ways, I've seen this before. I'm watching myself and I'm like, I've seen this before somewhere. I think in some ways it's like, I have this art that I want to create and I know what I want to do. And the rest of the world just doesn't see the vision yet, because right now I'm literally just like mapping it out. I'm not even laying the bricks. I'm not even, I'm literally just sitting down at my desk and scribbling on a notepad my ideas. So I don't blame the people in my life for not seeing how this is going to come together. I'm doing this program. It's called the MAPS program, Masters in Policy Studies. It's very practical. There's a practicum aspect. It's one of those degrees that when you say it out loud, people are like, oh, okay, that's awesome. Good for you. And then on the other hand, I've got this kind of angry, suffering artist inside of me. Nobody understands my art. But then at the same time, I'm also balancing this kind of practicality and all these very real responsibilities. You know, I don't have the ability to go hide in a cabin. If I did hide in a cabin and then just go crazy and do my art and whatever, it wouldn't be conducive to the kind of art that I want to make. I've never believed that art is something, I think that is just what the academy is, what academia is in some ways. This is this space of isolation, it's protectiveness. And there's a reason for being protective of art, of the arts generally, because the world is literally constantly attacking the core of this thing. And I respect it, I love it, I love the arts, I love political theory. I'm so grateful for the time I've had in university. I don't want to be on this side of things where we're criticizing like this blindly, but this protectiveness of this area makes it so that it's tight and suffocating and unrealistic. But what is realism? Like, part of the issue is that there's this deep kind of societal battle that has been waging for a long time and is in a critical point right now where we've got pragmatic, practical, policy-based thinking. And then you've got the academia, the academy, which is this kind of like up in the air, anything goes, constantly reinventing itself, you know, create, make more, what is it? Publish or perish, right? Like, keep going, get your PhD, be radical. And these two things are just diametrically opposed. Is that the right word? Why did I just use that? Metrically. Okay. These two things are on opposing ends. Like, you pick a path, you pick this path or this path. And I think I have really been trying to find somewhere in the middle where I'm thinking and I'm feeling and I'm doing, but I'm also engaging with the rest of the world. Because what happens in here is private. The Camille that's in here all the time, who's brilliant and great at this, means nothing to the rest of the world. And therefore, how brilliant and great can I be if nobody actually reads what I'm writing? If nobody actually cares what I'm saying? So, anyways, I wonder if anyone will actually watch this video. It will end happy. Of course it will end happy. It's me. I don't like to be just this, be sad. You know, it's just ridiculous. So this semester was me really trying to balance these things. This love that I have for theory and whatever. And then this kind of practical, pragmatic program that I'm in. This impresses my parents. Impresses, you know, employers. And this impresses my friends. This is a party trick. This is basically my artistic skills have become a party trick. What this kind of struggle, this kind of two sides that are pulling me apart. Camille, you could be successful at either one, or you could be successful at neither, right? I think that's the thing, right? I would love to be successful at both. I would love to be theoretical and interesting and clever and fully myself. Political theory was funny because it was like I'd be reading things and it was like they were coming out of me as I was reading them. You know, it wasn't just that I was taking information in, it was also I could feel that information coming out. It was always in me. And then I think with this practical side of things, there's something about me that's capable of being mature, or, you know, these things. You can train yourself to be good at practical things. People put a lot of emphasis on how impressive this is. I think being consistent, being organized, you can be good at this stuff. But I think in choosing neither of those things, in refusing to be some way or the other, because I lack respect for, you know, a group of people who sit down and just, you know, talk amongst themselves and fail to include anybody else in the conversation, you know, who hides their work behind paywalls to try to make back the money that they can't make in any other way. I don't want to be a PhD. I respect the PhD, but I don't respect that ivory tower nonsense. And to be fair, there's a lot of really smart people with PhDs that also don't respect that. So, and I also don't respect something that rejects this, because this is so important. So then, I guess, because I've chosen neither, I get neither. I'm not smart enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And I think it's hard because there was a time when I was good enough. Maybe. I know I didn't feel like it at the time, but I used to be like... Okay, so I do this semester, it's tough. I'm trying so hard to balance everything. I start letting down people in my life because suddenly I'm being pulled in 100 different directions. Rather than it just being ivory tower and practical, there's also all these other responsibilities that mount on you as a 23-year-old that weren't there when I was 22. Family pressures, life pressures. I graduated. I know what it was like to have a degree and just to be out there in the world and how terrifying that is. genuinely how scary and absurd it is to graduate into the world these days. And, you know, this artistic side of me. I mean, I know that there's people who consistently watch my videos, who are out there, who want to watch my videos, who like me, who like what I do, who get it, who get this thing that I'm trying to create. And I feel a responsibility toward you because I care about you. So I want to create. And then for myself, I mean, I think that the number one thing that I gave up this semester in order to kind of balance all of these different responsibilities was the responsibility I have to myself. I didn't do what I wanted to do. I didn't do anything. And then I had to kind of do things worse. Well, this is the biggest problem. This is where the problem starts. I don't know if this is where the problem starts, but this is where the problem actualizes. Confusion. I was so confused. It was November, and I felt like I'd hardly done anything. I'd made some videos, I'd written a few things. My best friend, she tells me, Camille, Jolnar, you guys know her. I've introduced her a number of times. She tells me, you know, you need to just do no commitment November. You need to just stop committing yourself to people and to things. I thought she was a canary in the coal mine. I thought it was like, I'm almost there. I'm almost burnt out. I've almost lost myself. But I think that she wasn't the canary in the coal mine. I think that the coal mine had crashed down on me 2 years ago. And this was the consequence of, I don't know. I just felt so lost. So it's November, and I have all these assignments due every week. I've got an assignment due. And I've got no idea where to allocate my time. Do I allocate it to this platform? And then I've got my friends and I've got my family where there's so much pressure and so much stress and struggle. I'm writing and I'm slowing down and my writing sucks. I'm writing these things for school that are terrible. I'm picking like the most bizarre topics to try to find I feel like I'm just poking at my brain, trying to get it to get that electricity back into it, and there's nothing. It's just sitting there. And there's nothing. It's empty. I have no thoughts. I have no cares. I don't care what I'm writing for the practical. I don't care what I'm writing for the theoretical. There's no cares left in me. All I want to do is write my short story, my fiction. When I say it like that, it's like, okay, this is, obviously you're just coming to a new phase in your life. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Anyways, I have final papers like I always do. And then I work on my final project, for my practical course. And that one, fine, it was hard, so many hours put in by me and my group. And then I have half a day to write a 4,000 word paper and nothing in my mind anymore. There was a hole in my mind leaking information, and that hole formed when I was about 10 or 11, and I'm afraid it's all leaked out. But then I write fiction, and I make these videos, and I'm like, it's not leaked out. It's still seeping. It's still there. It's continual. It's regenerative. But I think when it comes to university, there's nothing. Like, I just don't care. Now that I've talked this out, I'm feeling so much stronger in this. But let's go back to my text messages to my best friend to see what I was feeling like 30 minutes ago when I started this video. I texted her, I feel like I'm failing, like I'm getting worse. And I think that's what this is. A fear of getting worse. That in growing, I'm actually growing towards worse. That's not a thing. You don't grow towards worse. There's this concept in Canadian justice introduced by Indigenous systems of justice called restorative justice. It's pretty common, pretty well known. It's restorative. So it's kind of circular, and the idea is when like a hurt happens, when somebody commits like a crime, right? And there's this circle of us, and that circle is broken. And so in order to fix that circle, instead of taking this piece of the circle, somewhere isolated away from the community, like a prison, a jail, they are restored back into the community to make the community whole again. That's a very simple explanation. There's so many other explanations out there. But I learned about restorative justice when I was like in the 8th grade, I think, and I was fascinated by it, and I took a lot of those tenets into my life. And then I got to university and I started studying justice through politics, and I learned about something called transformative justice. And it's actually a rejection of restorative justice in some ways, and also it builds upon restorative justice in other ways. Transformative justice is like, somebody commits a crime, the circle's broken, right? It'll never be the same. We're not trying to restore this. We're not trying to go back to a time. We're trying to transform it. We're trying to make it better. We are going to use this person's crime as an example, as a learning opportunity, like as a reflection, as an indication of something that could happen. And we're going to use it to make our world a better place, to transform. We don't want to just go back to the same circle where that hurt occurred. It'll just keep happening. If the crime that I've committed is that I'm worse now, that I took a perfectly capable, kind, good person and I made her bad, then what's there to be restored? I think there's a lot of reasons why I've gotten worse that aren't just academic burnout or something like that. That's obvious. That's an easy thing to grab. You know, I thought about responding to my professor. I should read the feedback he gave me. He's such a good person. He didn't even give me a bad grade. He said, "This short essay offers some genuinely beautiful and thoughtful reflections on the course as a whole. I greatly enjoyed reading it, and as with all of your written work, it is very well written. My insights are somewhat scattered, and they would benefit from further refinement and development." He wished that I had pushed my reflections and addressed more questions. And then he said, "I hope this feedback doesn't come across as discouraging. Please remember that this is an excellent grade, and they matter less than the habits of thinking and intellectual confidence that I'm clearly developing. I consider you a thinker and writer of the highest caliber, and I feel genuinely lucky to have you in my classes, to hear your ideas, engage with your questions, and read your work." I mean, there was definitely a lot more work to be done on that paper, and probably should have asked for an extension, but I didn't want to spend more days writing this paper, so I was like, whatever, an excuse to just hand it in and get it out of my face. So anyways, okay, so I've murdered this perfect girl who was great and terrible and amazing, and now I'm just this like lazy thing that just has no idea what she's doing and is 23 and burnt out. So that's my crime. So then it's like, maybe the point is not to restore what I was before. These circles, like, they're broken because I've committed the crime of, taking myself out of them. But I don't know if I want that back. 21-year-old me had fun. 23-year-old me has new plans, new ideas, new circles to create, made up of the same materials but transformed. And I think, really, that feedback is fair. That's the funny thing. When I submitted that paper, I was so embarrassed. I would consider this professor of mine a friend. We talk all the time. I care about him. And I was embarrassed. I'm like, what I'm handing is bad. It was like me and like another student were writing final papers. So there's only 2 of them he had to read. Everyone else didn't have to hand one in because they are in undergrad, but I'm doing a master's. So then it's like, okay, he's going to read 2 of these papers. One's going to be incredible because that other guy's so smart. And then mine's just going to be this like under the word count, poorly researched, improperly cited, probably. Honestly, I did not check my citations. Garbage. And he's going to be like, Jesus, what's happened to her? I know that comes from a place of caring. I know he's like, you're great, so you need to keep pushing yourself. And that is fair. And I think that's where I've come to with this. It's like, I don't have anger toward that. What he said was fair. And maybe also my first instinct when I'm being mean to myself is to say, oh no, be nicer. I think we all should be nicer to ourselves. This time around, I don't want to be just nicer. I want to be kinder. I want to use this as an opportunity to transform, like I was saying, to transform, to make something new. I'm not going to restore. I feel like I just need to trust myself that this is going to be something, rather than looking back on this version of me who really was in a very different set of realities. I'm sure there's lessons to be gleaned from her, but I think for now, I need that version of myself to kind of just be left alone. Maybe this is a good set of feelings to go into the new year with. Anyways, thank you for listening to my rant. Will I post this? I don't know. Okay. Bye, guys.